Hello, everybody. So, quiet morning. Not much been happening. We're all nice and calm. Nothing's going on. Nothing's too wild. Has anything happened in the news that you might have noticed? Anything at all? Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah. So Leeds United are now in a very, very weird spot where we are both sponsored and owned by Red Bull now, partially at the very least. Which is very weird. So I thought I'd do a very, very, very quick stream just to sort of discuss it, find out what the vibes are like. We'll talk everything over, and yeah, hopefully we'll all come out of it a little bit more sane. If anyone has any questions at any point, just pop them in the. I got a hair in my eye and on my nose at the same time. Yeah, if anyone has any questions at all, just chuck them in the chat. I'm more than happy to talk them over. But yeah, this is a bit of a weird one that no one particularly saw coming before, like, this weekend, and then the story just went, um, which is nice, I think. But I'm like, yeah, I see a lot of people like panicking about the entire thing, and I'm not in that same boat. But if you are one of the people that is in the sort of panicky spot where you're not too sure how things are going and all that sort of stuff, let me know in the chat because I'd quite like your perspective on this because I am not 100% certain. Well, I know where it comes from, but I don't know why, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I'm so used to streaming with a bit of music in the background, so the one time that I've tried to do it without, it feels incredibly weird. Um, so I might just pop something on for me in the background and not for you because I don't know how to make it for you as well. Sorry, guys. But to start with, I'm going to give the club their shot at what they say has cracked off in this specific instance. I'll do a very, very little quick screen share. There we go. Chrome tab. Bosh. Start. Leeds United Football Club announced Red Bull as a front of shirt partner. This is something that no one really saw coming. And then it came. Which is an interesting one. 2 days after a message from Parag Marathe. Yeah. Hang on. I was prepared for 10:30 p.m. Yeah, that was an issue with StreamYard. So I selected 10:30, but I didn't see that the option was AM PM. So I accidentally selected 10:30 p.m. But here we are in the morning, a nice fun morning stream. Anyway, back to the Red Bull chatter. Deal includes branding on the front of the shirt for next season and minority ownership share. This bit is a point of contention for a lot of people. Because when it comes to Red Bull and owning football clubs, they go in hard. They go on in Bremner's Ghost. They not only buy the club, but they go a level beyond that and they like clean out a club's identity and all that sort of stuff. That isn't what I'm seeing at the moment from this situation, but then again, it's hard to say that you're seeing anything from this situation because there isn't really any clarity from the club on everything. Because it's a really sort of open, broad, vague thing that's happened at the moment. There is no specificity on the size of that minority ownership stake. There is nothing on the duration of the sponsorshipy thing, which is weird. Matt Leeds, hey Joe, I'm guessing the bull will be a different colour on the kit and reading it all sounds good. People on Twitter are panicking, but I think it's just positives. I can understand the panic, and I will get into the panic in a little bit. But in terms of like the colouring of like the bulls, let's be honest, the club isn't going to be daft enough to put a straight up red coloured Red Bull on the front of a Leeds shirt. Not only because like it'd look dreadful, it would clash horrifically with the fact that we have. This might also be a leaky leak, but we're reported to have like blue sort of peacock patterns down the arm of next season's kit. So I don't see them doing something like as stupid as that. I think it'd be like a nice little blue Red Bull thing on the front, like I did with the thumbnail for the video that I put out this morning. I really liked that mock-up as well. That took me less time than I expected that to take. Anyway, multi-year agreement with Red Bull making them the front of shirt partner starting next season. This multi-year agreement thing is what is confusing me a bit, because if you own a stake in the football club, in theory, you own that permanently. Toro Blanco. I like Toro Blanco. That's a good one. Yeah, at that point, you own that stake in the club, right? That isn't a temporary thing, so it's a question of, does that shirt deal go away as a result at some point? I don't really see that happening. I see it being basically a permanent thing, but a hell of a lot of money coming in, isn't it? And I, from other statements that I will hop into in a minute, don't see it having like a long-term impact on the club's identity, but we'll find out. Today's announcement that it will be joining forces with Leeds United reinforces the international popularity and significance of the club. This bit you can ignore. This is pure PR waffle. I used to work in a role that was effectively writing press releases and stuff like that. They know the audience that they're writing this for. They know that they are writing this for potential investors, which is why they're going, oh, look, it's a really popular and significant brand. Combined with, I guess let's get around FFP, PNS. Kinda. I'll get into that in a little bit more detail later on. Remind me after I've done this a little bit. But it's also directed to the fans. It's a way of saying to the fans, look how big and good your football club is. And I mean, fair enough. Like, it's a really big and good club. But yeah, it's a bit sucky-uppy, but it kind of has to be, because that's how press releases work. Beginning in the 24-25 season, Leeds United will feature Red Bull branding on the front of Leeds United men's and women's first-team kits. This is to be expected. They're not going to sponsor one and not the other, especially with both of the teams being more like drawn together as of late. Red Bull will also become the club's exclusive energy drink partner, with branding featured inside Elland Road and during club official media appearances. This is basically standard stuff. Sponsoring the club, you will get access to media opportunities, stuff like that non-sponsors don't get. I think hold on. I'm going to slightly change the screen share version that I've got. There we go. I think this effectively might kill Boost's relationship with the club, considering Boost is also an energy drink. But we'll have to find out. Now we get into the quotes from Parag. I'm thrilled that Red Bull is joining us to build a bright future for Leeds United and shares our deep respect for this truly special club. That is another one of those cases of, you know your audience, don't you, Parag? You know that you are talking to the fans on this one. You know that the fans are looking at this and going, what does this mean? So he's done a little bit of sucking up stuff. Very basic, very PR friendly, because let's be honest, Parag knows what he's doing in terms of this stuff. As chairman, our consortium of investment partners will be invaluable to me as we approach this important moment for the club now and into the future. This is emphasizing that at this point, and I can see this argument that it's sort of a turning point for the side. It's sort of from here, either things go really well or they drop off. That's why it's a turning point. If Leeds get promotion this season, fantastic. If Leeds don't, then it's another season of not having that revenue from... I've realised why I'm not able to focus, and that's because I've not had my meds yet today. Yeah, and it's a case of, if we don't go up, then bigger problems, which is something that obviously the club will be aware of. Followed by Red Bull's addition is a historic milestone that will further empower the club to reach its full competitive potential. This is what I was mentioning in the video earlier, in that Red Bull have a tendency to go into the competitive side rather than just being on the visual branding side. So, for example, with the Red Bull F1 team, when they lost an engine supplier, they didn't just go, oh, crap, guess we'll use a Ferrari or a Renault or a Mercedes engine. Instead, they were like, oh, okay, we'll just sign a bunch of engineers and make our own engines. And it worked really well, because Red Bull are really good at investing themselves into these sort of things. Added on to that, we are delighted. This bit is from Oliver Mintzlaff, the Red Bull CEO, Corporate Projects and Investment. Jesus, that's a title. Would I like to be an important element and partner of Leeds United? That's just sort of PR stuff. A club that's certainly one of the biggest in England, has a rich and successful history. This bit I appreciate because a lot of the fear around this stuff, the RB Leeds route, is the fact that at previous sides, they've effectively stripped clubs of their histories. Mentioning the rich and successful history at this point, for me, is a positive because it shows, okay, there's at least some awareness there that they don't just want to go, it's Red Bull Leeds now, or Red Bull West Yorkshire, or Red Bull Roses. That doesn't feel like that's going to be a thing that happens. The ambition to bring them back to the Premier League, establishing themselves in the best football league in the world, fits very well with Red Bull. Obviously, they are used to being at the top of whatever sports they are in. As I mentioned previously, esports stuff, they have won some of the most prestigious tournaments. In F1, they've won a lot of championships. In Germany and Austria, in the football, they keep winning things. I prefer RB Leeds to something more extreme. I think I'd prefer it just being Leeds United, I'll be completely honest with you. How do you mean something more extreme? What are Red Bull going to do? We look forward to the partnership and are optimistic and energized about the future. A little bit of me imagines, is this just something that they include in all of their press releases? Because it's an energy drink, it sort of works. You know, you've sort of got to say energized at some points. I don't know. That's kind of quite fun. Also, I'm really annoyed by something very, very little that I doubt anyone else will notice. This quote starts with the right quotation mark, ends with the right quotation mark. This quote ends with the wrong one, and that makes me really, really mad. The deal brings in new commercial revenues as well as additional capital investment for a minority ownership stake that will further enable the club to compete on and off the pitch as they seek promotion next season. That's good. This additional capital investment means that the whole Leeds don't have the cash to compete or Leeds need to sell to buy is relatively meaningless. Goes out the window because you can do capital investment if stuff like this has happened. And importantly, something that a lot of people are incredibly spooked about, and I can understand being spooked about, the name and logo of Leeds United Football Club will remain unchanged. Which is a really important bit, in my opinion. It clarifies that although they are Red Bull, they are not necessarily pulling a Red Bull, if that makes sense. Just having the word red on the kit makes me cringe. It's not that bad. I'll be honest with you. Like, we've been sponsored by Red Kite, we've been sponsored by 32 Red, and that never really caused a problem. I think it's okay. I mean, it could be significantly worse. Oh, what was I going to go to next? That's what I was going to go to next. Brilliant. Thank you, brain. Yeah. So next up, I'm going to hop over to the wonderful Athletic. Hello. Something written by Philip Hay, with Red Bull purchasing a stake in Leeds United, set to be shirt sponsor next season. Soft drinks giant Red Bull struck a deal to purchase a minority stake in Leeds United. This is going to be a quick look at Phil Hayes' article on it because he's less likely to be all the PR-friendly stuff. Also, if you haven't yet, pop a like on the stream. That'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Red Bull were sniffing around under GFH or Chelino. They were, yes. I can't quite remember to what extent. I think it was a case of trying to buy the club. But I feel like I'm in a more comfortable spot with this being the situation in comparison to if it were Chelino selling to Red Bull. Because Chelino selling to Red Bull wouldn't get any assurances. I feel like what's happened here is the 49ers have gone, okay, let's maybe get some assurances that they won't change things. Again, discussion that they'll sponsor the club shirts. That's the basics. Control a large stable of football teams worldwide alongside its powerful F1 operation. It's set to seal an investment which will see it join Leeds' existing ownership group. The question for me, this is the big one, is how big of a share is that share in the ownership group? Because you've got your Larry Nances, your Will Ferrells, your Jordan Spieths, who are all invested in the club. I think Russell Crowe is in there as well, who don't have controlling shares. They have like non-voting shares. They're just invested to invest. And in theory, Red Bull are in a similar spot to that. Because I'm going to scroll down a touch. Will Ferrell's a latest high-profile figure. We know conversations going on for some time. Poised to close successfully, resulting in the firm securing a stake in Leeds United. I'm not able to find the bit that I'm actually looking forward to here. It replaced Boxed, which is fine. Red Bull will bring significantly more cash than Boxed did. And that's sort of what sponsorships are for. This is the bit about Cellino's link, but there was no investment at that time. Where is the bit that I'm looking for? There we go. The Athletic has been told that Red Bull will not be given a seat on Leeds' board as part of its share acquisition. This is the bit I was looking for. Thank you, Orange Raider. I wanted it from Phil, just so it's not me trying to just say it. Which makes me feel significantly more comfortable. Because it tells me that they won't have any tangible say in the day-to-day operation of the club. They will sort of. Because obviously they are going to be investing significant amounts of money, and they will be in the position of, we know how to get clubs promoted very quickly, and we know what we're doing in terms of scouting and stuff. So I feel like operationally they'll have a little bit of a say, but in terms of board stuff, I don't particularly see that happening. Another important bit, changing the club's name, shirt colour, or stadium name will not be open to discussion in any respect. This is also incredibly comforting, because at least whilst the 49ers are here, we know that they're not going to be making the move to just shift everything out, become a Red Bull club, because I don't feel like that's what's going to happen. Because that would be absolutely bonkers for them. That would be incredibly stupid, because that is how you start with the worst possible relationship with the fan base, especially when said fan base is Leeds United and are so deeply attached to the club and its identity. This is a big reassurance, and as is the fact that in order to get anything to practically happen, Red Bull would have to make announcements in advance. There is also the football governance legislation that is likely to be coming in under the next parliament anyway, because it had cross-party support from Labour and the Conservatives, which means that owners can't just come in and do things like change shirt colours like the Cardiff City owners did. They can't just swing in and change badges and delete club identities and stuff like that. The 49ers have been expanding their pool of investors ever since the bid to take over Leeds outright was completed at the end of the 22-23 season. Brilliant. We've seen this. We've seen multiple people announcing their role in the club, and some have actively sort of taken that to be a big source of personal investment as well as financial investment for them. So Wembley last week, good old Larry Nance Jr. Rocked up to a little bar called The Parish, where a bunch of folks were... 1 second, I'm having slight YouTube issues. There we go. Rocked up to a pub called The Parish and put 12k behind the bar and basically said, let's have a little bit of a party at Wembley, which was really kind of him. But you can tell that there is genuine care and attention being put into the club at the moment, which is really, really nice. I quite enjoy that. This is something that confused me a bit, because general journalistic practice would tell you that Leeds as a club would benefit from responding to questions for comment, especially when you've got someone like Phil, who is a widely regarded journalist for Leeds United stuff, coming to you and saying, can we have a little bit of a natter about the Red Bull thing, because clearly they're aware that something is happening with Red Bull. They know that there is an announcement coming up. I mean, last night I knew there was an announcement coming up, so I did a video on it. Did really well. Thanks, guys. But for the club to not comment on that felt a little bit weird. Maybe it's because they knew that they were putting this out in the morning. But even then, you think you give them a little bit of a comment. But yeah, that's the basics of what's going on here. I want to see the comments on this one. Bernard, I've read on the kit. That's already been clarified that isn't happening. Let's up my most likes. Rather sponsored by Red Bull than any of the betting firms that's slowly destroying people's lives. Absolutely agreed on that. Show me the money. I love it, Jake. Fans will moan at anything. Great news. Again, show the club's intention of not hanging around in the championship like what we've seen from the new ownership so far. But this is the bit that scares people. Fans have seen what Red Bull have done to other football clubs and are rightfully wary of it being done at their club. Ben, I think this would be a fantastic idea, to be honest. It makes sense for Red Bull. It would make sense for us. I can see that partnership, in a footballing sense, expanding as well. It just works, I think. I'm going to zoom in a touch more just so things are more readable. Because I don't know how readable things are for you guys. Because I've got my preview window in a teeny tiny corner up here for me. It's like, let's sort of model it. This big for me is where I can see me and what's on my screen. So if things aren't readable, please just tell me so I can make things more okay. We can send them back Aronson and Rasmus. That would be absolutely perfect if we could get rid. But I mean, the weird thing is Rasmus Christensen did quite well at Roma, which I don't understand. But sure, if he wants to be able to manage that, why not? Let's not complain. It means that he's more sellable. Aronson, however, had a stinker. Whether or not we can get rid is a very good question. This is another concern that I've seen a little bit. Of will we become a feeder club or will other sides just become the feeder clubs? And I think we'll be fine, won't we? Does anyone realistically see Leeds becoming the feeder club to a Salzburg, to a Leipzig? I'm absolutely convinced. Hold on, I changed tab, but apparently the Athletics website did not like me doing that. But I can't see that being a problem. I see it as being basically okay, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, I kind of want to know what you guys think. Because I was recording that video last night and I had no idea how it would come across because, obviously it was complete news. I'd heard the first, rumours of a Red Bully thing on Monday. Decided to not do a video on it or anything just because the people that were, talking about it were people that I was like, eh. I trust you, but I don't want to sort of, potentially ruin the fact that we're mates and stuff like that. But then things started gaining a bit of traction up to the point of last night where I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to do a video on this. And then there we are. Probably just share scouting knowledge. Yeah. I can see that being a thing at the very least. I can also see loans between the clubs being a thing. If Leipzig have players that aren't getting minutes. So I'm going to do a very, very quick search. Where are we going to go? We're going to go to FB Ref, I think. We're going to bring up Leipzig. And we're going to sort by minutes, shall we? Yeah. So, Bitshiabu, for example, 18 years old, Leipzig player, signed from PSG the season before. Really, really good player, isn't getting through at that squad, but he's very clearly got a lot of quality about him and is a player that we could potentially bring in on loan, which is great. There's also cases of maybe a Christopher Lenz. Alex Mariba is another really, really solid player that we could look to get, I think, if he's still sort of floating around the RB system. I can't quite remember. Did Leipzig sign him permanently? Maybe. I'm not sure. Was that on loan? Yeah, I think so. Can we get a refund for Aronson since we're connected to Salzburg? Right. This is a very, 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 very weird one. Oh my god, I've just had an idea. Should my next Football Manager series be RB Leeds? Just to see if it can, like, get under people's skin a little bit. Oh, that'd be good. That'd be so fun. It's a horrible idea that people wouldn't like. But it could be fun. Hang on. I'll do that as a poll, actually. That'll be the poll that I'm running throughout the thing. Do it with the next data update. That'd be fantastic. Do it. It'd be funny. I think it would be quite funny. But I can also see people losing their nut if they, like, dive into it a little bit later. If they're like, oh, RB Leeds, what? And it's like, well, no, I'm not supporting the concept of being purely Red Bull. I just thought it'd be funny. It's okay. Yeah, on this one, can we get a refund for Aaron since we're connected to Salzburg? No, but there is weirdly potential to do something really interesting with that. There is potential for us to, and because I've looked over like various like rules and regulations on like what can you do in terms of putting funds into a club. In theory, we can loan him back to Salzburg with a fairly chunky loan fee. Or we can loan him back to Leipzig with a chunky loan fee, if depending on which one's in the Champions League, which one's in the Europa League, which one has flexibility in terms of finances. And I genuinely think that would be good for all parties, because Aronson was quite good at Salzburg. He was really good at Salzburg. And then he moved and he's not been the same since. So I think it'd be a good return for him. I think it'd be good for us because we get some money through the door. Honestly, I think that's probably the best way forward. That'd be really good. Should never give info on stuff told in confidence. Total respect for that. Yeah, that's why I didn't like do anything at the time. I basically was like, okay, so I know this thing. Let's not talk about the thing because I've heard it in a private conversation and I don't want to ruin it. So sod it. So I waited for like various bits and bobs to emerge from other places, and then when it came to the video itself, I would just sort of broadly alluded to someone told me something about the thing, and I hope that that's fine. Imagine we get Sesko in the championship. It'd be delicious. How did Sesko do last season? Benjamin Sesko last season got 14 goals in the Bundesliga. Can we have him, Leipzig, please? You don't need him. You've got Openda. You've got Xavi Simons. Oh, can we have Xavi Simons as well? That'd be wonderful. That'd be fantastic. I'd be very happy with that. If I had FM, I'd play as Blackpool and rename them near Manchester FC and manage them as my friend from Blackpool, who I used to see at concerts across the world, and he'd say he was from near Manchester. Yeah, that's the case when you live in the UK, in anywhere that isn't London. You sort of have to say, oh, I'm near somewhere. That's reminded me of, it was such a stupid thing. It might have been an episode of WWE Monday Night Raw in 2015, but there was the stupidest commentary line I've ever heard that has stuck in my head ever since, is how stupid this line was. And it was something along the lines of, they were talking about a guy from Newcastle and were like, he lives just down the road from here in Newcastle. And it's like, fantastic. Where are you recording from? London. Just down the road from Newcastle, mate. It's just a pop to the shops. And that has been rent free in my head ever since. Michael Cole, thank you for that moment. Fortunately, people recognise Leeds United whenever I told people I was from Leeds. Yeah, being over in Blackpool and playing a lot of seven-a-side football, you get asked who you support a lot of the time, and with everyone around here saying like Liverpool or Blackpool, or there's occasionally a Blackburner in Preston, and there's me who occasionally says Leeds, and everyone just sort of looks at me and goes, "Oh," which is devastating. But you know what? It's fine. It's not a problem. Right, I'm gonna have a very quick look at Salzburg's squad actually. Interestingly as well, they've got like, I know there's a Brazilian side. New York Red Bulls is also there, but I feel like we're not probably looking for MLS talent. Ooh. You know when you have an idea and it's not an idea that you can use, but it's still a really, really fun idea? Why do we not just sign Coops to like a 2-year contract and then immediately sell or loan him out to New York Red Bulls? Because he'd do fantastically well over in that league. Because the MLS is not a strong division still, defensively at the very least. In terms of attack, fantastic. In terms of defense, because of the way that wage structures work, you are only allowed to pay, like, I think 3 people over a designated sum of money. Which kind of means that, like, I don't know. I think Coops would do quite well in the MLS. I think that's an easy way of making a bit of cash. Also, I need to do a quick test of a thing. And I apologise that it might annoy some of you for a few seconds. But, as previously mentioned, good old Stream Decky boy, I've not tested all the buttons on yet. Or at the very least, I've not tested all the buttons in all situations. So, for example, when I am doing a stream via StreamYard, like I am now, I don't know whether all the buttons work. So I'm very quickly going to click the Run Ad button, and I'm going to click the Send Chat button. And if they work, fantastic. If they don't work, fine. But if you have an ad showing up right now, I apologize. This is literally just for testing. Sorry. That's the comment button. It worked! And that is the ad button. I don't know if that one works because I don't know how well set up it is. Just let me know after the fact if you can. That would be hugely appreciated. Also, remember to like the stream and subscribe if you aren't yet. Cheers. I love that I've got that saved as a message just so I can be like, please, thank you. I appreciate it. No. Ouch. That's devastating. That's okay. I've got my because no people don't tend to know this, but YouTubers don't eat. We live on the amount of likes that our videos get. So I've not had breakfast today, but the fact that I put that video up at 7 a.m., 292 likes, no breakfast for me. Scott N says, "Morning, Joe. I'm all for this involvement with RB. Something like this puts us way ahead of any other club in the Championship and possibly ahead of some in the Premier League. Good times incoming." I'm in the same spot because the issue that most people are afraid of is the sort of hypothetical question of what happens if Red Bullify the club. And I understand that that is a very, very fair concern. That is very valid. But at the same time, it is still a big hypothetical. It is what they've done at Salzburg. It is what they've done at Leipzig. But at those clubs, they weren't dealing with the same. How do I phrase this in a kind way? They weren't dealing with a fan base quite as batshit as Leeds United. They weren't dealing with a fan base that is effectively rabid 90% of the time. And they would not be able to make those changes, and they will learn that in no time. I'm certain. Which makes me feel a bit okay with it. And then you combine with that the fact that it means that we are now a part of the big RB scouting network, which is colossal. The amount of talent they are able to pull up is bonkers. Combined with the fact that we also have access to loaning those players in addition to just the scouting stuff, I feel okay. Do you think that the logo or name will be manipulated so the red avoids madness? I don't see the name being changed. It will remain Red Bull on the shirt no matter what. But I don't believe that. How do I phrase it? I don't think it will have any red on the kit, because I think having red on the kit would immediately turn the fans against the sponsor, which makes sense. Like the moment that they're like, okay, so Leeds United hate red. What if we, as Red Bull, put red on their white football kit? Stupid. That would be daft. That would be insanity. I don't see them doing it because I think absolutely anyone with any semblance of a branding brain does that because it's silly. What I can see them doing, and I am going to have to very quickly pull up Canva. I can see the red color part being yellow. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Because they have changed the colors of the logo in the past anyway. Like the Red Bull F1 team heavily features blue and yellow. If only we knew a club. If only we knew a club that had a lot to do with the colors blue and yellow. If only. I can't think of a football club like that though. If you can, fantastic. Yeah, I'm gonna quickly share this screen actually. Leeds fan base is batshit bonkers or a lot are. Yeah, we have to be, otherwise we would have died of PTSD by this point. Can you die of PTSD? I don't know. Being bonkers isn't a requirement to support Leeds, but it surely helps. Yeah, I think anyone that isn't bonkers that supports Leeds they lost it some time ago because it's very, very difficult to support this football club. All right, Leeds United home kit. All I want to do is see some of the media shots. No, not the one with the child in. Okay, this is a little bit annoying because the Leeds United store has sold out of home kits, which is good. Sod it, that'll do. It's not the highest quality of images, but I will have to roll with it. Edit image, background remove. Never mind, Control Z. Yeah, this is going to take a moment, so I apologize. Even back in the days, Benetton had the F1 team. They often deferred to title sponsors, like when they had Camel and then Mild 7 sponsorship. Yeah, it's a standard thing in other sports. It isn't in football, and that is completely understandable. I get that, but like, I don't know. Taking over F1 teams and giving them their name is completely normal. It happens all the time. So people have brought that up as an example. That's not a valid example. Not in my opinion, at the very least. Right, so I have taken a lovely little picture of Archie Gray in. Let's quickly go to that one. In this season's home kit. Remove the boxed, pop on a Red Bull, do a bit of a justy. That one can go back to being yellow. Can it go back to being yellow? Yes, it can. And this one I will take to be a blue. Bosh. No red on the kit other than the word red, which is fine. You can even get rid of the word red and do this. Which, admittedly, doesn't look ideal, but it's fine. You can also do this, and you've gotten rid of the bulls. Being blue isn't going to be an issue for Red Bull because they got this deal across the line. It's easy enough, which feels okay. I thought they'd try something similar to Paddy Power and maybe remove the red and put no bull. That'd be funny. That'd be fantastic. But it's a weird one because it's in the position of it's such a fun, creative idea that I don't know if I can see a multinational brand like Red Bull being exciting enough to do it. We're flying next season with our new wings. I like it. Big money coming in, absolutely. I've got no idea how much because those numbers haven't been discussed yet amongst anybody, but it's definitely going to be something going on. There's definitely going to be quite a lot of cash coming into the club, and I think it's going to be huge for not just this window, but the one after, when we're continuing to push for a cheeky little bit of Premier League football for the long term. One thing I'd hold hope is to look at where Salzburg and Leipzig were before the takeover, much smaller clubs without the power of Leeds fans and history. This is another thing of what I'm thinking. Leipzig and Salzburg didn't have the same identity that Leeds do now. See you later, baby zebra. And see you later, Maldino. Hope you have a fantastic one. But the fact of the matter is, Salzburg and Leipzig didn't have that same oomph behind them. They didn't have the same sort of community fan-led stuff that Leeds do, which means that I feel like Leeds are more protected from this sort of identity loss that Red Bull have a little bit of a tendency to do. I think we'll be relatively safe from it. Nice, perfect. Just how I pictured it in my mind. Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be fine. It's easy enough to turn Red Bull into a white and blue kit. Is the point that I'm trying to make here. Although, if you want to call me a graphic designer, I'll take it. Leave the name and badge alone. This has been sort of debunked already to an extent. And Joe has just tweeted about this, and I'm going to give it a cheeky little retweet. And I'm going to share this tab instead. To stop the panic, thanks, Jerry McDermott. Let's put those away. The Athletic has been told that Red Bull will not be given a seat on Leeds' board as part of its share acquisition, and that changing the club's name, shirt colour, or stadium name will not be open to discussion in any respect. Which is fine, to be honest. That's what people are most concerned about. And that not being a problem is excellent. It means that we are effectively safe from the Red Bullification stuff. Stand by for DJ being tied in with Red Bull promotions thanks to his pace. Oh, imagine his veins not being full of blood but being full of Red Bull. Imagine how much sprinting he could do next season if we do that. Oh, that'd be spectacular. Does this mean Vardy wants to join Leeds? Loves a Red Bull. Imagine we get Jamie Vardy. No, I think he's sticking around at Leicester. I don't think I'd really want him anyway. He's one of those players where he's Alioski-esque, where everyone thinks he's a bit of a shithouse, but if he plays for you, he's your shithouse. But at this point, he's been at Leicester so long that he wouldn't be ours anyway. He'd still, like, culturally be theirs, if that makes any sense. How do, Joe? Sorry about the troll bashing earlier. I have forgotten what you're referring to. Am I going to have to check the comments of that video? Have you been mean to people on my videos, John? You know I want the good vibes on my videos, and you often bring them. Thank you. Jesus, 7.8k views. That's what happens when you are a big old clickbaity boy. Sorry about that. But it needed doing. And it's not really clickbait, considering it was part of a leaked email that Parag sent out. Got about the RB news will officially be known as RB Leeds, no matter if an official name change or not. I don't think we will. I think we've got enough of a history and culture as a club that it's not going to drive that wedge between the two. I'm confident in that. especially since a lot of that is going to come from the fan base. YouTube must have deleted it if you didn't. It's more of a thing. I'll show you what comes through on my end. So the comments that I tend to see are strictly the ones that I haven't replied to, and they are like top level comments. So if you have like troll bashed in reply to someone else's comment, odds are I've not seen it. This is why beyond the first comment down, I very, very rarely reply to stuff, purely because I don't see it. And because if you get too much into YouTube comments, you get too much into people genuinely just using the opportunity to be dicks to you. So I stay very clear a lot of the time. I'll reply to all these comments a little bit later. Although I do like the looking forward to your Red Bull flavored tier list video this summer. I don't even like Red Bull. That's the thing. Like the only Red Bull thing I like is their F1 team. Oh my god! Hey, Red Bull. If you're watching this, because I know you probably have a social media team that's looking at the response. I've not been to Silverstone before. I've not been to a Silverstone paddock before. So if you want a little bit of my email's in my channel about section if you want to tell us. Sorry, just got here. What's your take on all this? It seems like more money, which seems positive. Yeah. For me, it feels like from a sporting perspective, there isn't a downside. From a sporting perspective, it is very. Leeds United will be receiving a heap of cash at the same time as receiving access to the probably to the Red Bull scouting network at the same time as Leeds United will probably receive significant investment behind the scenes, which means that it's setting a very, very, very strong foundation for the club going forwards. Like, I'd say it's not necessarily going to have an impact this season because in theory it won't, despite the fact that they will obviously add to the transfer budget. But yeah, it's a complicated one. It'd be good, basically. I'm feeling good about it. I'm enjoying it. Been to a few F1 team factories. I used to work at one. What? Gary, you can't just drop that and then not give more detail. Did you used to work for one of the teams? Which team? Been to a few of the factories. So that tells me maybe engine supplier you worked for? That makes some sense. Oh, yeah. You're an F1 driver. Okay. I feel like if you're an F1 driver, you don't introduce that by saying, I worked at an F1 team factory. That feels like a tough little way to make that introduction. We can make them pay for JKA now. Oh, God. Did we still owe them that much money? I'm going to bet we paid them. I think we've almost definitely paid them by now. Yeah. I think it'll help with the absolute pile of other players, though. It will help with the Christensen, with the if we don't get to sell him, Llorente, with the Rocker, with the Aronsons, because it's a situation of I don't think we've paid JK his wages yet. We probably have, unless that's still bouncing between various courts. Yeah, it's basically now we have two clubs that we're able to offload players to on loan and sell to. Which I know there's a big like UEFA fair market value thing where you can't just use it to cheese FFP. You have to like pay what is a reasonable fee for the players. But yeah, I think it makes sense, in my opinion, to do something along those lines. The entire thing is just confusing to me, I think. It brings up a lot of questions going into this summer because the 100 and whatever million pound thing that everyone was bringing up was never a question of we need to pay this to deal with FFP. It was a cash flow problem. And I got a feeling that having Red Bull as a sponsor is going to clean up some cash flow problems, which is nice. So I don't know. What does that mean for the window? Does that mean that we have to put less time into selling players? Does that mean that we can invest more? I can still see the likes of Somerville potentially going out purely because he'll probably want higher level football, might not want to play in the Championship. I mean, shit, maybe we can loan him out to a Leipzig or a Salzburg. Hope for promotion. Adam Pope via the Orange Raider says no place on the LUFC board for Red Bull. That was the same as in the Athletic article. Told it's a significant investment with name and badge unchanged, which is good, to be honest. I absolutely like that because it leaves things a little bit cleaner. Leaves things. The fact that there isn't a place on the board means that at least for now, that isn't going to be a big problem for us, and I feel pretty good on that front. I feel good on they're not going to do the identity ripping thing that they've done in other places, which is nice. But I am going to ask once more what you guys' thoughts are, because it's quite interesting, and I'll only be able to go for another 3-4 minutes, because despite this big old bit of news dropping today, I have a meeting scheduled at 11:45, and I need to do some prep stuff for that. Is this official? It absolutely is, Lewis Hendo. It is currently out on the Leeds website. It was reported by The Athletic, one of the websites that I used to write for. Last Word on Sports, Last Word on Football was the specific department. Ran an exclusive on it last night. We basically sort of teamed up and were like, this looks like a thing, right? Just to sort of bounce everyone's sources together. And it did look like a thing, which was good. And morning, Justin. And everyone sort of agreeing and conferring on that was absolutely fantastic. Something weird as well is that website tends to put its various stories on club subreddits, so it spreads a little bit more. And everyone on that subreddit was like, "This looks like bullshit. I've not heard of this website before. It's written by a journalism student. It's a journalism student that I trust and I ran all my sources by, and I was like, do you agree this is a thing? Yeah, fantastic." And we went with it, and it worked out. But I do think the post was deleted from the subreddit, which is a little bit of a pain. Because it was completely accurate as well. That was the annoying bit. It was deleted because everyone was like, well, I don't know where all the sources are. And it's like, they have the sources. I just can't tell you who they are. Oh, it was so annoying. Right, anyway. I think we lose Somerville, Nonto, and probably Melier. Hopefully we can keep Gray. That's the only player that would really sting if they left. I do think we keep Gray. I think there's another shot in the arm to the club. We'll make sure that we are able to hold on. Definitely helps, because it means that we've got the cash behind us. We don't need to sell the players now. Maybe RB will change some of that, but like you said, Somerville want to be playing at the highest possible level. Yeah, I think Somerville probably goes. I am confident that stuff like badge, team name, colours, stadium name won't be changing. At least for the foreseeable future. And even if they do try and make it happen, the fans will go full uproar mode and it will not become a permanent change. I'm convinced it will be okay. I'm gonna sod it. I'll go another 5 minutes. I'll bring it to an hour being live. That'd be quite nice. If you aren't yet as well, it'd be massively appreciated if you could pop a like on the stream. It just helps things get pushed out a little bit more. Same for subscribing. It basically helps the channel a lot. I was a little bit sad because I missed my target of 3,500 subscribers by the player final. Managed to get across that line with this little video, which was really, really nice. But it was, yeah, we got there in the end. All is well. But yeah, I am bizarrely confident. I feel like this is colossal for the season ahead. And not just that, it means that we can be significantly more secure for the season after this season. For the following ones, where it becomes a lot more about who can you scout across Europe, who can you bring in for reasonable fees, so if you do go down, you're not hit by FFP. I think this entire thing puts us in a fantastic position in terms of club wealth, in terms of youth structures, in terms of absolutely everything, in terms of even behind the scenes fitness and stuff. I think it's just good. Wonder what Red Bull will do with that club then. I think it'll be a case of, I don't know how to phrase it, sort of like Jewel in the Crown-esque. A very sort of, hello, Degenerate Yellow. You've timed that really well because I'm finishing in about 4 minutes. It'll be very, English football is the pinnacle. And although they can't put their name to the club, they can try and become synonymous by attaching themselves through sponsorship. So looking back to F1 stuff, not specifically the Red Bull team, but you will look back through the years of Formula One and you will see McLaren, for example. You have people still who refer to themselves as coming from the Vodafone days of McLaren or from the Marlboro era of McLaren. A sponsorship can become more than a sponsorship. It can become a very sort of positive identity for the sponsor that they want to take up, which is great, fantastic. It means that they will look to continue that investment. And I feel good about it, basically. I think we'll be okay. I'm not as spooked as a lot of people are. I think yeah. I trust it. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good. And this is another big point. I feel much better about the future than I did when Jesse was brought in because Red Bull is renowned for its ability to take over sporting ventures as a unit and turn them into winners. And the more they're able to do that, the more confident I feel. Because it's happened in F1, it's happening in MotoGP, it's happened in esports, it's happened in football. This as well, we've covered this a little bit. There won't be changes to logo, there won't be changes to name, there will just be a pile of investment with a leadership structure that has a history of winning things. And I feel all right with it. I feel okay. I don't feel too scared. But at the end of the day, you might, and that is completely valid. That is fine. That's all good. But I'm going to bring the stream to a close there. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, pop a like on the stream. It's always massively appreciated. You can subscribe as well. It's one little click. It really helps the channel a lot. You can even watch the video that I did earlier today. That is a very, very quick summary of what was going on at the time. That's changed a little bit from them, but that's okay. You could even become a channel member. All that revenue right now is going to Prostate Cancer UK, which is a really important charity to me. I've really enjoyed my 4 minutes. That's what she said. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. And pop an 07 in the chat for the little salute. I will see you later. Ta-ra.